Don't do it. Don't do it. We suffered with NAFTA for decades. It was such a horrible deal. Do you know they made typos in that deal? Nobody knows this. They made typos or numbers. The numbers were much bigger. They say they were typos. They didn't even change them. They just accepted them. For years and years, we paid much more because of typos that were made that nobody wanted to go back and correct. Legally, you're allowed to correct a typo, but nobody wanted to do it. Nobody wants to talk about that. The worst deal we ever had, NAFTA, probably the best deal we made was the deal I made with China, but I don't talk about it because of COVID. But we made a deal with China. They're going to buy $50 billion worth of our product, and they agreed to 15, and I heard 15. I said, what's the number? 15. I thought they said 50. It's true. Is that true? I said, how much are we doing here? They said 15. So I thought they said 50. So during the course of the negotiation, I said, are you close to getting that $50 billion number? And they said, no, it's 15. I said, no, it's not. You told me 50. They said, no, we told you 15. I said, no, you told me 50. Here's the story. Just go and tell them 50. So they told them 50, and they agreed to it. Do you believe it? That's when I told you in Iowa, stay with me. Because, you know, we went through a little period during that negotiation, right? It was a little nasty out there with China. You know, China is a seriously good negotiator. They're tough and smart. And they have tremendous, it's amazing. Their energy is tremendous. They want to make these deals where they destroy you. But I said, just hang in. And the farmers did. And I had about 30 farmers in the White House. It was incredible. And I said to them, many groups, manufacturers, but this case was farmers. I said to them, you know, I'm going to get you so much subsidy from other countries, and you're going to have subsidy, you're going to have everything that you always wanted. And I was interrupted almost simultaneously by 5 farmers. Sir, we don't want subsidy. We just want a level playing field. That's all we have. That's the only group that ever said that. The other people, they'll take all the subsidy you can get them. They didn't want it. They just want... These guys were amazing. This was in the middle of this problem we had with China. I had to turn it off with China, but they said, we don't want subsidies, sir. We want a level playing field because nobody can beat us with a level playing field. I got them much more than a level playing field.
He's been about 10, 15 minutes in, but when he first came on, he said, I don't think the group we're working with are trying to destroy the group that we're going against are trying to destroy the country. This is obvious. And then he says, you know, it's not just one man. He goes, I don't even think he knows what's happening. That's what he said about Biden. I don't even think he knows what's really happening.
But the Biden administration is running on our fumes. That's all they're running on. They don't have anything. They're doing everything wrong. They're running on our fumes. I then got the $28 billion straight out of the tariffs that I took from China. I took hundreds of billions of dollars in from China. No other president got 10 cents from China. You can look all the way back. No president got 10 cents. They said, we're a developing nation. Brilliant people, brilliant negotiators. No, we are a developing nation. Well, we're a developing nation, too. Look at our cities. They're falling apart, our Democrat-run cities. We're a developing nation, too. But I got hundreds of billions of dollars in taxes and tariffs from China, and it brought them to the table. And because of that, I was able to get the farmers $28 billion. That's why, you know, I get a lot of heat sometimes. Some of my people, and they're great, they're good people. They mean well. They say, sir, please don't take it for granted that you're going to win Iowa. I said, what do you mean? I got the farmers $28 billion. Of course I'm going to win Iowa. Remember, I came in last time. They said, sir, you sound very conceited. You're saying you're going to win. I said, how the hell can they vote against me? I got them $28 billion. They're going to vote. Do you think Joe Biden's going to get you $28 billion? Any extra money that he gets comes to him and his family. It doesn't come to Iowa. That's been proven, hasn't it? You see, they just found him $5 billion went to him. Remember during the debate, I said to Joe Biden, I said, how come the mayor of Moscow's wife paid you $3.5 million? And Chris Wallace, how's he doing, by the way? Chris Wallace was the moderator. You shouldn't be allowed to ask that question. I said, well, it's true. The mayor of Moscow's wife paid this family $3.5 million. Why did they get it? What did they do that was worth $3.5 million? They weren't able to explain it. Now it's turned out to be a big case. I was right. Chris Wallace, it was like fighting two people. Of course, it was really like fighting one person. Because that was a beauty. But now it's turned out to be a very big, really big subject. He got $3.5 million from Moscow, and nobody knows why, and they can't justify it. What did you do for the 3.5? At least say you did something. There's nothing. They didn't do anything. You know what they did. It's called laundering. Just as I promised, I also fought for Iowa ethanol, issuing a historic rule declaring the E15 would be made available all year round, and also letting them use existing pumps. It doesn't sound like much, not very glamorous for a speech, show that you're allowed to use, but that was millions, tens of millions of dollars. They had great pumps, actually better than the new ones, and they wanted to know if they could use them, and they weren't allowed to use them under the legislation, and I gave them the right to use the existing pumps. They were actually just as good or better, and they saved hundreds of millions of dollars. But I was able to do that for the farmers and for the state. Ron DeSanctimonious is a opponent, really a raging opponent of ethanol. He's against ethanol. He fights it. He was fighting it all the time. Now all of a sudden he's saying, no, I'm actually for it. Oh, it's this politician. They're against it when they need it. But you know what? They always go back to their original thought. But I was your ethanol champion for 4 years in the White House. There was nobody could have kept it like I kept it, including getting it from 8 months to 12 months. They could never justify that. I said, why are they only allowed to use it for 8 months? They told me something about heat. I said, do me a favor. Just, it's fine. We're going to do it for 12. But we did a good job for ethanol. Together we achieved the most secure border in U.S. history. We built 561 miles of border wall, despite the fact we had to fight the rhinos and the Democrats. You know where I took the money? From the military. I got $700 billion from the military. I said, excuse me, we're taking 10 and we're building the wall, because you couldn't get them from the rhinos, Mitch McConnell and these guys. You couldn't get it. He was not good, not good. You couldn't get it from him, and Paul Ryan was like this a real jerk, a real fool, like a stupid fool. But these guys, they wouldn't give it to you. They wouldn't give it. And now they end up giving trillions of dollars to this character, Biden. And he goes around saying, we'll build a bridge, we'll build whatever you want, you know, trying to buy votes. But it's not working because they are down the tubes. What it is doing is causing tremendous inflation. That's what that does. And that's what's happening in our country. And that's what's killing so many families. I also got Mexico to give us 28,000 soldiers. And, you know, free of charge. I said to the president of Mexico, we have to get you to give us soldiers to guard our border while I'm building the border wall, because we're building this great wall. It's exactly the wall that Border Patrol. I didn't actually like it. I wanted to have concrete plank, like parking garage plank, going up in the air 40 feet, 50 feet up in the air, perfect. But the Border Patrol didn't want. They had to have steel on the outside. They wanted concrete, and then they wanted rebar. They wanted different materials, and they wanted to be able to see through. You had to be able to see through. So I built it as they wanted it, everything they wanted. It was actually more expensive doing it that way than my way. And it was amazing how successful it was. And, you know, for those people that like to say, oh, but he didn't get Mexico to pay for it. Not the whole thing. There was no mechanism. So what I did do is I got 28,000 soldiers from Mexico, and that's much more expensive than having them pay for a piece of the wall. And it was very interesting because they said, we will not pay for that. How could you ask us for a thing like that? I said, no, you're going to pay for it. You have to pay for it. No, we're not going to do it. The president, who I have a lot of respect for, I really like him, even though he's a socialist, that's okay. Can't have everything, as I say. Can't have everything. But he's a great guy, the president of Mexico. And I said, no, you got to pay for it. So they sent their top negotiator to see me in Washington, and I had the people from the State Department. A woman from the State Department who only handles Mexico said, sir, they're not going to pay for this, and they're not going to pay for a thing called Remain in Mexico. That was me. You know, Remain in Mexico was a Trump deal. They were all Trump deals, everything. We had 10 things. I said to Border Patrol, these people are incredible people, by the way, ICE and Border Patrol. I said, give me the 10 most important thing that you need from Mexico and from the other South American countries. They gave me 10 things, all of which were impossible. Catch and release in Mexico. as opposed to, catch and releases. We catch them, release them into the United States. I said, no, we catch them and release them into Mexico. I got everything. But I said to them, you have to give us 28,000 soldiers free of charge. And he laughed at me like I was like a fool. We don't like being called a fool. He laughed at me. I said, you can't laugh at me. Why are you laughing at me? You know you're going to pay it, don't you? No, we're not going to pay it. Why would we pay for a thing like that? I said, you're going to pay it 100%. Look at me in the eye. I told him, look at me in the eye. You're going to pay it. No, we're not. I said, yes, you are. Here's what we're going to do. It's Friday now. On Monday morning at 7 o'clock in the morning, every car and every product that Mexico makes coming into the United States will have a 25% tariff on it, which is far more money than you're talking about for the soldiers, who you're paying anyway. So you're going to either do it or that. Sir, I'd like to make a phone call. Please come back quickly. He came back within 5 minutes. Sure, it would be our great honor to give you 28,000 soldiers, to have a policy of remain in Mexico, to have catch and release in Mexico, and 7 other things that were, frankly, in many cases worse. And we had the safest border in our history, and it wasn't really that tough. I appointed nearly 300 federal judges and 3 great Supreme Court justices. That was a big deal. I kept my promise, recognized Israel's eternal capital, and opened the American embassy in Jerusalem. Nobody thought that was possible, right? I also recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. So horrible what's happening in the last 6 weeks. Think of it. You go back 3 months, 4 months, but go back 3 years. This is
where I have an issue. Go back to 1917, when the Rockefellers created Israel. They actually implanted. I'll do a video on it. There's plenty of information on it, but there's a lot of stuff that this guy doesn't know. He doesn't know. There's his handlers or his people or his close associates that he counts on. The problem I have with him is he's getting in limited information. He needs to know the whole picture to make better choices. There are 16 million Jews in the world, give or take. There's 1.6 billion Muslims. Is this the fight you want to keep fighting? Right? No. You need to stop the Ukraine money. We just need to stop the Israel money. We need to stop sending money out. That's my point. And stop the killing, which he said.
To his face the nation. I like deface the nation better. But it was on that. Another one was on Meet the Press. I call that one Meet the Fake Press. But they said, well, I will admit one thing. Under President Trump, Iran was broke. Because Iran is the problem, because they have all the money. So not only did we give them $6 billion for 5 people, hostages, or whatever you want to call them, that shouldn't have been there, by the way. They shouldn't have been there.
It was $6 billion.
But we gave them $6 billion. Think of
6.1.
$10 billion for electricity going to Iraq. I don't know if you know about that, but they sold electricity to Iraq, and we gave them 10. So we gave them 16. And everyone says, oh, that's so much. And that's peanuts. We gave them $250 billion in the selling of oil. They're selling millions and millions of barrels of oil to China, to India, to all these countries that weren't buying under the Trump administration. Took off all of the sanctions and all of the verbal thrashings that I'd give these people. I said, if you want to do that, you're not going to do any more business in the United States, where they make a lot of money. So we had it done. It was a done deal. And then we had the bad results with the election. Horrible, horrible results. What a different country when you think about it. I'm just saying up here, talking to you, just like I've got 3 people in the room. You know, what a terrible thing has happened to our country over an election. Over an election. Think of our country would have been. We would have had no inflation. We wouldn't have had the surrender in Afghanistan, which was probably the worst and most embarrassing day in the history of this country that the fake news doesn't talk about. They never talk about it anymore because they're really bad. They're fake. It's not what they say, it's what they don't say, because what they don't tell you is far worse than what they tell you. But we would have had a much different country. We would have continued to have the greatest economy ever. But we're going to bring it back. I withdrew from the disastrous Iran nuclear deal. That was one of the biggest things I did for Israel, but nothing happened with it because they didn't, when they withdrew, you're supposed to make a deal. They were broke, they withdrew, you were supposed to make a deal. And with the historic Abraham Accords, I even made peace in the Middle East. We're going to have peace in the Middle East. So for 4 straight years, I kept America safe. I kept Israel safe. I kept Ukraine safe. None of this stuff would have happened. And I kept the entire world safe. And we will again as the 47th President of the United States. We'll do it again. Thank you. I'm the only candidate who can make this promise, and this is one of the biggest promises because our country's never been in a situation like this. We have a man that has no clue negotiating with nuclear weapons. I will prevent World War III. I will prevent it. On my first day back in the White House, I will terminate every open borders policy of the Biden administration, stop the invasion on our southern border, and begin the largest domestic deportation operation in American history.
So the problem I have is we're giving the Democrats, the Democrats, another fucking year to destroy this country. This crap that he's talking about that he was going to stop may even start tomorrow, according to these fucking people. They're nasty. They'll do whatever they can to stop this guy from getting in, obviously. And for what? Because he doesn't fucking bow down to the lobbyists?
Unfortunately, it's true, because we're waiting for disasters, the likes of which we probably have never seen before. China, just recently, we found out 27,000 people come in, all young men, no wives, family, and children, all young men. What are they, building an army in our country? Other countries from South America, but countries from all over the Middle East are pouring into our country. A lot of bad things are going to happen. A lot of bad things. This is not good stuff. It's a disaster waiting to happen. So remember that when you're hearing these words. On her way to work one morning, down the path along the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-frozen snake. His pretty colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. Poor thing, poor thing, poor thing, she cried. I'll take you in and I'll take care of you. Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, cried the vicious snake. She wrapped him up all cozy in a comforter of silk and laid him by her fireside with some honey and some milk. She hurried home from work that night, and soon as she arrived, she found the pretty snake she'd taken in had been revived. Take me in, O tender woman, take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, cried the vicious snake. She clutched him to her bosom. You're so beautiful, she cried. But if I hadn't brought you in by now, you truly would have died. She stroked his pretty skin again and kissed and held him tight. But instead of saying, thank you, ma'am, the snake gave her a vicious bite. Take me in, O tender woman, take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. I saved you, cried the woman, and you've bitten me, but why? You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die. Shut up, silly woman, said the reptile with a grin. You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in. Now that is exactly what's happening to our country. Okay? Exactly. Right? Exactly. Right? Gonna be bad. Gonna be bad.
It's not going to be an accident, though. And this stuff could happen prior to stop an election. They could unleash these people or these cells at any time. That's my concern. Craig Pasta and some other people that don't seem to be too worried about the border. It's who they're working for. Building 7, 9/11. Everybody look it up.
From terror plagued countries, and I will implement strong ideological screening on all immigrants. We have no choice. If you hate America, if you want to abolish Israel, if you sympathize with jihadists, then we don't want you in our country, and you're not going to come into our country. We will restore law and order to our communities, and we will respect our police again. And I will direct a completely overhauled DOJ to investigate every Marxist prosecutor in America for their illegal, racist, and reverse enforcement of the law. We will take over our horribly run Washington, D.C. It is horribly run. Have you seen it? It's filthy, dirty, with graffiti all over the most beautiful marble columns, magnificent columns built 200 years ago, 100 years ago. They're loaded with graffiti at levels you've never seen. The roads are disgusting. They're like driving over garbage. And we're going to clean it up, renovate it, and rebuild our capital so that it's no longer a nightmare of murder and crime. Last week, 3 people were killed. Every week, people are killed. Every night, people are hurt badly. They go to Washington. They're proud of their country. They come out. They're frightened to go outside. They can't go outside. You can't. If you go outside, you're making a big mistake. This is our capital. It's never been like that. You know, when I left, it was different. It was much different. But years ago, it was really amazing. Now what they're doing, you know, I wouldn't allow anybody to park put their tent up on our lawns, our beautiful parks. Now the parks are loaded up with tents, and they're loaded up with homeless. We have to help the homeless, but we can't destroy our capital. We're going to rebuild our capital. We're going to make it so beautiful. It's going to be the most beautiful capital in the world. And unlike Ron DeSantis, I will protect Social Security and Medicare for our great seniors. They deserve it. Why are we doing this? There's so many ways we can make money. Drill. Much more money than we're talking about. We drill. Got more liquid gold than anybody in the world. We're also going to fight to give much better health care than what you have right now. This is a newer subject, but Obamacare is a disaster. And I said, we're going to do something about it. I saved Obamacare when we got John McCain's negative vote. You know, he voted against it after campaigning for many, many years. He said, thumbs down. It was an amazing night. But we're going to fix it because it's a catastrophe for family budgets. Even Elisabeth, Pocahontas Warren, have you ever heard of her? Now, she's Pocahontas because of her great Indian heritage. She even said that it needs to be fixed. Pocahontas said it has to be fixed, so we're going to fix it. We're in open enrollment. You know, we have an open enrollment season right now on Obamacare, and everybody's seeing how staggeringly and brutally expensive their plans have become, right? They're like crazy what's going on with the plans, the way they're up. They're not affordable. Under this complete and total Democrat-created disaster, a family of 4 is paying over $1,500 a month for health care plans with a $10,000 deductible. $10,000, you're going to be hit by a truck. That's a big deal. $10,000 deductible. So you get nothing, basically. You're paying into something, you get nothing. A 60-year-old couple is paying $2,000 a month with that big deductible. We're going to make it much less expensive for people. We're going to make it much better care. And we're going to give far more options to American patients. And we're not looking to save. We're looking to help people. They said, I'm going to attack Obamacare. I'm not attacking it. When we had Obamacare, I fixed it and made it work. But I also made the statement, it will never be any good. It will never be any good. And it is no good. We're going to give you great health care. That's what we're going to give you. On day one, I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children.
On our children. Just keep it away from the children. I mean, for fuck. They can do whatever they want after they get out of the house. Go do whatever you want. You take care of yourself. Go do it. You're going to keep on.
I will fully uphold the Second Amendment, and I have done that. I will protect innocent life. We will restore free speech. We do not have free speech. And I will secure our elections. Our goal will be, as I said before, one-day voting with paper ballots and voter ID. It's very simple. And by the way, do you know how much money you save on the machines? You'll be spending 1/10 or less to get better elections, safer elections.
Every 2 years, just make a holiday for voting. For fuck's sakes.
Done. If you want to save America from crooked Joe Biden, then get every patriot make sure they're registered Republicans, and get them out to vote their local precinct caucus at 7 p.m. So it's 7 p.m. on Monday, January 15th, Martin Luther King Day, and get out there and do a job. Do a job. If we can get the big numbers, there's nothing they can do. They cheat, and they're always going to cheat. We're going to try and keep it down to a minimum. They cheat like hell. That's all they know how to do. That's the only thing they do well. Their policies are, who the hell wants open borders, high taxes, high interest rates, can't buy a home, bad education? There's not a thing they do that's, how could you win elections like that? You know how? By cheating. That's what they have to do. And they cheat, and they don't care, and they don't care how many times you vote. Vote as many times as you can. Where Republicans say, sir, I'm an American citizen. I can only vote once. That's the way it is. And there's something nice about that. But what they do in elections should never, ever have happened. We are asking you to commit to caucus for us and bring as many people as you can to caucus for the campaign. Sign up at ia.donaldjtrump.com. So in conclusion, together we're taking on some of the most menacing forces and vicious opponents our people have ever seen. No matter how hateful and corrupt the communists and criminals we're fighting against may be, you must never forget that our nation does not belong to them. This nation belongs to you, front row Joes. This is your home. This is your heritage. And our American liberty is your God-given right. And we love that you're here. We're going to go out after this is over. You have plenty of time, and we're going to see a game against a place called Michigan. You're going to be watching that? So good luck. That'll be good. But in the meantime, as important as that is, this is more important because we're going to save our country. We're going to save our country. This is our last chance. We stand on the shoulders of American heroes who crossed the oceans and blazed the trails, settled the continent, tamed the wilderness, laid down the railroads, dug out the great Panama Canal, raised up the skyscrapers, won 2 world wars, defeated fascism and communism, and launched our brave American astronauts to plant the stars and stripes on the face of the moon. What we've done is so incredible. And now we have a horrible situation going on, an embarrassment. Our country's become an embarrassment. Together they made America into the single greatest nation in the history of the world. History of the world. Think of that. Think of that. But now, we are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. We are a nation that has the highest inflation in 50 years, where banks are collapsing and interest rates are skyrocketing. Likewise, we are a nation where energy costs have reached the highest in history. We are no longer energy independent or energy dominant as we were just 3 short years ago.
Crazy.
We are a nation that is begging Venezuela and many others for oil. Please, 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 Joe Biden says, please help us, please, please. And yet we have more liquid gold under our feet than any other country anywhere in the world. We are a nation that just recently heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will be reducing their output of oil and substantially increasing the price, and met that threat by announcing that we will no longer be drilling for oil in large areas of Alaska and other parts of our country. We are a nation that is consumed by the radical left's Green New Deal, yet everyone knows that the Green New Deal is fake and will lead to our destruction. We are a nation whose leaders are demanding all-electric cars, despite the fact that they can't go far, cost too much, and whose batteries are produced in China with materials only available in China, when an unlimited amount of gasoline is available inexpensively in the United States, but it is not available in China. And now we are a nation that wants to make our revered army tanks, they are revered, they're the best in the world, they want to make them all electric, so that despite the fact that they are also not able to go far, fewer pollutants will be released into the air as we blast our way through the enemy territory. And they also want to make our jet fighters with a green energy stamp, losing 15% efficiency, but allowing us to keep our enemy's atmosphere clean of pollutants while we viciously and unceremoniously attack them at levels no one's ever seen before. We are a nation that ended oil exploration and production in the United States just as the price of oil reached an all-time high. What other country would do such a foolish and self-destructive thing? We are a nation that surrendered in Afghanistan, leaving behind dead soldiers, American citizens, and $85 billion worth of the finest military equipment in the world.
We need to cut that down.
And also leaving behind Bagram, one of the biggest military bases in the world, and only 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. Why, oh why, oh why? And we are a nation that allowed Russia to devastate Ukraine, killing hundreds of thousands of people, and it will only get worse. It would never have happened with me as your president, and for 4 straight years it didn't happen. Likewise, the recent attack on Israel would never have happened. They wouldn't even have thought of doing what they did. Iran was broke under the Trump administration. They didn't have the money to fund Hamas and Hezbollah. They didn't have the money to fund themselves. They were going to make a deal, and it was going to be a great deal for us, and it was going to keep the world safe. But those sanctions were lifted, and now Iran is a rich country with $200 billion and another $6 billion for hostages and $10 billion for electricity from Iraq. All compliments of the Biden administration. And China, with Taiwan, is next. We are a nation that allows the radical left to violently attack our cities, leaving behind massive destruction and death, and nothing happens to them. There is no punishment. But when people who love our country protest in Washington, they become hostages, unfairly imprisoned for long portions of their life. We are a nation that has weaponized its law enforcement against the opposing political party like never before seen. We've got a Federal Bureau of Investigation that won't allow bad election-changing facts to be presented to the public, and which offers $1 million to a writer of fiction about Donald Trump to lie and say it was fact, where Hunter Biden's laptop from hell was Russian disinformation, and the FBI knew it wasn't, but 51 intelligence agents said it was, and a Department of Justice that refuses to investigate egregious acts of voting irregularities and fraud. And we have a man who is totally corrupt and the worst president in the history of our country, who is cognitively impaired and in no condition to lead, and is now in charge of dealing with Russia and possible nuclear war, which would be World War III and far more devastating than any of the previous wars because of the weaponry that no one even wants to think.
He needs to be careful with the Saudis. He really needs to be careful with the Muslim community. He doesn't understand.
People, they refuse to discuss the Biden crime family, but enjoy covering false indictments of Donald Trump, who has done nothing wrong. We are a nation where free speech is no longer allowed and where crime is rampant and out of control like never before. We are a nation that is allowing Iran to build a massive nuclear weapon and China to use the trillions of dollars it has taken from us to build a military to rival its own. What a sad state of affairs. And less than 3 years ago, just think of it, we had Iran, China, Russia, and North Korea in check. They weren't going to do a thing against us, and everyone knows.
We did. Everything was fine. Everything was good. A steak was fucking $2.99.
Most importantly, we are a nation that is no longer respected or listened to on the world stage. We are a nation that in many ways has become a complete and total joke. And we are a nation that is hostile to liberty, freedom, and faith. We are a nation whose economy is collapsing into a cesspool of ruin, whose supply chain is broken, whose stores are not stocked, whose deliveries are not coming, and whose educational system is ranked at the bottom of every single list. Yeah. We are a nation where large packs of sadistic criminals and thieves are allowed to go into stores and openly rob them, beat up and kill their workers and customers, and leave with armloads of goods, but no retribution, where the authority of our great police has been taken from us, taken from our country, where their families and pensions have been threatened and their lives would be destroyed.
He's not the greatest script writer. But could you imagine fucking Biden trying to do any of this?
Of illegal drugs are easier to get than formula for our beautiful little babies. And a nation whose once revered airports are a dirty, crowded mess. Yet you sit and wait for hours and then are notified that the planes won't leave. They just won't leave.
Crazy.
And they have no idea when they will. They have no idea. Where ticket prices have tripled, they don't have the pilots to fly the planes. They don't have qualified air traffic.
Because they've all gotten the fucking boot, bro.
We are a nation that has lost its confidence, willpower, and strength. We are a nation that has lost its way, but we are not going to allow this horror to continue. 3 years ago, we were a great nation, and we will soon be a great nation again.
They're gonna fucking, I'm telling you. They're gonna fucking do whatever they can to stop this. They'll take out an entire city, county, probably even a state. We're talking mass destruction.
It was hardworking patriots like you who built this country, and it is hardworking patriots like you who are going to save our country. We will fight for America like no one has ever fought before. With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists. We will throw off the sick political caste. And we will rout the fake news media. We will drain the swamp. And we will liberate our country from these tyrants and villains once and for all and like never before. Like those patriots before us, we will not bend, we will not break, we will not yield, we will never give in, we will never give up, and we will never, ever back down. With your support, we will go on to victory, the likes of which no one has ever seen before. We will evict crooked Joe Biden from the White House, and we will take back our country on Election Day 2024. The great silent majority is rising like never before, and under our leadership, the forgotten men and
the great silenced community is rising again.
we are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God.
Unlawful.
And together we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you very much, Iowa. God bless you. God bless you, Iowa. Thank you. God bless you all.
Yeah, so this is, he's gonna needs to work on that, but I am not, yeah, it's, I'm in, like I've been saying, there's a lot of things out there that his immediate campaign team is not informing of. But I think there's a reason why he's going to Israel. There's 7.34 or something million Jews in the United States, right? And there's only 3.45 Muslims. There's 7.5 million Jews, and then there's about 4 million Muslims. So in this particular case, I would say the majority is definitely going to take the whack at it, right? So, but he's also very misinformed, as well as most of these people, right? We yeah. So I don't want to cover her. I should cover him. Look at that. Let's see. Well, it's always good the problem is I really think that he needs to look into a little bit more of what's going on and how Israel was created. We know, and because of the research that we've done, because we are real reporters, that basically the Rockefellers created Israel in 1917. Slammed them right inside of the heart of the Muslim world, in a sense. Great way to keep war moving. Get it? Get it? It's a great way to keep the military-industrial complex moving. What are these people saying?
President Trump will be going back and forth through Iowa over the next week and a half. I mean, even December 13th in Coralville, Iowa, he'll have an event there. I know he's doing a quick interview or a town hall with Hannity coming up. So obviously a very busy man.
Yeah, he's out there. The thing about this guy, let me get away from this. He's putting in a lot of work. He's doing a lot of things. He's not lazy, and he's capable. There's a difference. Okay, look. Who's your candidate that's going to fix anything? Let me backpedal a little bit. It'll be revealed, and it's already being revealed, that J6 was a complete setup, right? Scam, setup, trap, right? Sting, whatever it was. However, the operation made Trump look bad, right? And the Republican Party. Very well done, very well orchestrated, but it's being exposed. 44,000 tapes. We're also knowing now that there was a ton of rigging, cheating, voter poll access, ballot, drop box, criminal activities that have been already prosecuted as such, not just hyperbole, or they're just we believe, or we have a funny suspicion. It's done. This has already been proven. You know that Russia was bullshit, right? And still there was a lot of people that were like, well, the guy still talks out of his ass and da-da-da-da-da. I mean, I was there. A lot of people were there. And they didn't trust him. And then he took $200,000 when he left college or something like that. Look, if I had the money, and I thought about this many, many times, if I had the money and my son finished school and he did everything he was supposed to do, and he's been you've got to really look at who this, in the notes here you'll see who the grandfather is and stuff if you look at the notes. But his great grandfather, I think his grandfather came to the country. Great grandfather. Anyway, Friedrich Trump. He was a barber, and he did whatever he could to survive. And then his wife, the barber's wife, was Irish, and they had the Irish-German kid. He was an immigrant. Came in when he was 16, like everybody else. Back when there was, 3.5 million people in the country, maybe 4 million, maximum. Maybe not even that. Maybe 2.5 million. Anyway, the point I'm trying to get to is he's not with the bloodline, and this is what people don't get. There is a bloodline of presidents that have been in with the as presidents for a long time, and you can look that up. If you need the information, let me know, and I'll tell you. But let's just put it this way. Dr. Shiva, if most of you know who I'm talking Dr. Shiva, I forgot his first name. Now, nobody can say his first name. Brilliant man, very smart, running for president, independent, great. Knows a lot of stuff. He sees the corruption with Trump, and he sees some corruption with JFK, not JFK, Robert F. Kennedy, RFK. And he sees a lot of, and he knows he's painted the picture of corruption, you know, and I get it. But the problem for Dr. Shiva is he's not a born citizen, and he says there's a way around it. People don't want that. We're Americans. I want whoever is going to be my president of the United States of America, I want him born and raised here. That's me. You can have whatever you feel you want. It's a free country, right? But I don't want somebody coming in from China at the age of 43 or Iran at the age of 45 or, you know, Russia or wherever, and then they become legal citizens within a year and a half, 2 years, whatever the process is. It's a fucked up process. I get it, right? And then the next thing you know, they're running, but they have all this money behind them, and they could be a serious threat. That just doesn't sit well with me. I want people that have lived the life of the Americans, right? I want them to, you know, it's kind of weird because you could say, well, what if he came in when he was 1 year old? Right? I believe there should be, I don't know if there's a constitutional, which he says there's a constitutional clause in one of the amendments where it doesn't clearly state that you have to be an American citizen or something of that nature. But that's just me. I want you to be a fucking American. Period. Born and raised in America. That's it. That's it. You gotta fucking hold the line on shit at some point. You gotta hold the line at some point. Now, everybody's got their candidates. Jill Stein's coming back. Miss Climate Change. Slave. You know, her and Al Gore. Right? Her and John Kerry and Al Gore, the people that want $90 trillion to eventually get to the climate change problem. This is their quote. That's the fee that they want to charge to fix climate change. It's fucking crazy. And then you know it's just a big money laundering scam. And he said there's money laundering scams. He needs to know which ones are which. Right? He needs to know which ones are which are the money laundering scams. And his immediate group, he's got a little bit of the Mike Tyson syndrome, a little bit of the Michael Jackson syndrome, where the people around him are a bunch of yes men. They're telling him what he wants to hear instead of what he needs to hear. This is the problem I think that Trump needs to get over, because it happened to him in early 2020. He said that the fucking whatchamacallit was a great Democratic hoax. The early 2020 flu thing, right? Here's their Democrats' new hoax. Then all of a sudden he changed his tune. They sold him. Or he knew. I believe he doesn't have those kind of people around him that will give him the answers that he needs. This is my concern. And this happens, how many presidents should we go through that have been manipulated or puppets or just a big scam? Obama's the greatest fucking example. The greatest example. Hope and change and nothing. And what he was saying about fucking the ACA, I'm about to take my life insurance test, which goes over the ACA, and just to let you know, in the very beginning of it, it says, what if I take it? It's changing and it's constantly evolving and and it's bullshit. I'm not going to play it for you. I'll play it some other time. But that is a scam. that was a gigantic scam. It's fucking too expensive. Maybe he's going to create a system that's going to work. Sounds like he is. I don't think he's drawn up a plan yet, but maybe they're working on it. They've got to get rid of the middlemen. If Dr. Shiva played his cards correctly, he could get into that administration and be the health administrator, or and work like 3 departments at a time. That fucking dude could do it. Agriculture, Health and Human Services, the CDC. He could actually, he'd probably want to get rid of them. We need to get rid of that shit. That they're just for-profit corporations anyway. I don't even know why we fucking listen to that bullshit. There's nobody else. I mean, it's blatantly known now, and he's saying it. I'm going on my 3rd term. That was stolen from him. And if that's the case, this man deserves his 2nd term, which is going to be, hopefully, next year. Hopefully. But like I've been saying, ever since I've started doing more and more research on why they want to go after this guy, is they're going to do whatever they can to take him down. So I am constantly telling people, protect him, save him. I don't think it's a good idea to go in these stadiums with all these people. Somebody's gonna is gonna be paid. Somebody's gonna get hypnotized. Somebody's gonna be is gonna be that person. I'm just telling you, they're gonna go after him. They're creating the Democrats, George Takei, Rob Schneider, not Rob Reiner, a bunch of these fucking just pedophiles, pedophiles on X and Facebook and wherever else, constantly just berating this man and uplifting with lie after lie after lie. I don't mind what Trump is saying, by the way. I think all the stuff he's saying makes good sense. I think it's something that we definitely need. I don't think he knows exactly the total scope, or maybe he just isn't revealing it right now. But I don't think he's that stupid. I do know that Joe Biden, everything he fucking says, has been a complete and total lie. I mean, where are you at on this? Where are you at? Do you want somebody who, from my perspective, and from what I can see and observe, my conclusion and my decision comes to me because I'm just basically looking at a man that's just fucking talking, like 2 or 3 people in the room. Like he says. That's what it is. He's not... So what? So he doesn't talk like Obama. He definitely talks a lot better than fucking Joe Biden. Right? And that's not the reason why we need him in office. There's nobody else. Who's going to fix and save this country? You think that RFK? Because I know there's going to be a big group of fucking people, especially some Democrats, are going to fall off of that train that's going off a cliff, that's going off the rails, that are going to jump. It's going to happen. Mark my words, it's going to happen. All these people are going to be pissed off. They're going to find out more information. It's finally going to get to them in regards to the fucking fluid and the fucking the thing they had to take. And they're going to be pissed. And then they're going to go with, a guy that's not against vaccines. He's not. But he is against certain ones that just probably need a little more scrutiny, to put it lightly, right? So my point being is, yeah, there's nobody else. There's really nobody else. I don't know if RFK is going to completely separate himself. I know he's running independent now. For him to go right off the bat Democrat was just stupid. That was very telling. I was just like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Either start off independent or fucking, go Republican, because at least you'll be up on the stage. Whoever his campaign manager is, it just kind of tells you where maybe they're not it's not a good idea. Maybe it's not a good idea to put some, you know, that just was a bad play. I like the guy. I think he means well in most cases. What's weird is him and Trump are kind of on the same side in regards to Israel, which they just need to be a little more educated on what's really going on and how that country was created and why. It's just been a go-to money laundering scam for fucking decades. Decades. People don't even realize that. If you need information about it, let me know. I'll send it to you. I'll send you the articles. I'll send you the information. I'll send you all the videos. I'll send you everything you need to know. And so I'm going to be playing a lot of his tapes. That last part with the music, I was just like, I guess he's trying to cut a sizzle reel or something like that. It's like, dude, just don't. He needs breathing. It's called breathing exercises. So when he's about to say something poignant or it needs to be exacerbated in a sense, and it needs to be with fervor, he needs to take a breath, quick one, with fervor, right? Whoever his fucking campaign coaches are, these guys are idiots. I mean, I'm worried, and I'm concerned about his team that protects him. I need those guys' eyes down and up. Down and up. I see them looking at eyeballs. No. They're looking at faces. No. I need these guys to look at fucking hands. Feet. Things come from the feet. Things come from anywhere. These guys, I don't think they're trained right. It just looks bad. They need to be looking at the hands. Always. Some guys looking above, some guys they take areas. They split it up. But they're not doing it. Anyway, thank you for watching. James with Money Talk. Mahalo.